just going to do a little short video on something new for us. We're building for our store, for our website, these insulated covers. Insulated inner cover, I guess would be the proper word. We're using them on our smaller colonies this year. It's kind of funny. I've been doing this for decades and I've never used an insulated cover before. But I've read enough about it, and we have a few friends doing it. Greg's doing it, and then I listened to that lady speak in Wisconsin, Peggy, I forget her last name, DeSantis or DeSoto. I shouldn't do that. I might be butchering her last name. I'm going to actually put I think in the video description, I'm going to put a link to her video. Okay. Listening to her talk, she's really good at this. She has quite an elaborate wrap or insulation box that can be constructed around a colony. Very good, meant for far north locations.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally unnecessary for us. But what is good for us is this limited version of an insulated cover. Hers, the one she makes, and Brad with Faith Apiaries up there in Manitoba has a video on making these too, and his is more elaborate. His is thicker. Manitoba, they need a lot of insulation.
Yeah.
So in southeast Georgia, northeast Georgia, in the southern Appalachian Mountains, I think we're good enough with this one. The idea, the condensing hive theory, it's not a theory, it's real, I'm convinced, is you don't want a cold cover that warm, moist air can hit and condense on the underside of the cover. Yeah, go ahead, Nathan. That is Prodex. I'll talk about that down in the wood shop when we're showing how we're constructing these.
Yeah.
And when me and John went out and put these on, when we took the lids off, they were sopping wet, just
Oh yeah, dripping. The
Sopping.
lid, not these lids.
Yes.
Yeah, our
When
lids
we
were
started
wet. Even
using
earlier in
these.
the season, we were already getting a lot of condensation. And I just looked at our little home yard the other day, and with these, we're getting none.
Yeah, no, I pulled one off.
Yeah, so
the other
it
day,
makes a huge difference. So
Yeah.
that's 1 inch in there. The way we're constructing these is that there's an inch cavity in case we want, well, not in case, we will put on fondant patties and pollen patties and things like that, and that's what that 1 inch is there for. And also that's an air pocket, which that in itself kind of creates a little bit of, temperature cushion.
Yeah.
And this is Prodex, and I'm going to talk about it down in the wood shop. It's not the same as Reflectix. Anyway, so this whole thing is 3 inches. What else can I say about this? The theory is dew point. Jesse, he came up with some good language on our website. He's calling it, this directs the point of dew point inside the colony.
Yeah.
In other words, we're not insulating the walls, but we
Right.
are insulating the lid. So condensation is going to occur on the walls of the box. We've already seen that.
Yeah, no,
It's occurring on the inner walls of the box, but not on the lid.
Right.
And it's okay to have a little water on the walls because, in fact, when the bees break cluster, they'll probably actually go over there and access that water.
Right.
And we just don't want water raining down on the colony due to condensation on the underside of the lid.
Yeah.
It's basically, in a nutshell, warm, moist air hitting a cold surface.
Yeah.
And if you have one surface that's warmer than the other surfaces, it's going to condensate on those first.
Yeah.
Several years ago, I saw something that was actually alarming. It got real cold here, and it stayed cold, stayed below freezing for a long time,
Yeah.
well below freezing, and the condensation was turning into frost on the underside of the lid, and it built up to be quite thick. And then one day the warm spell came, and all of that frost melted at the same time, and it absolutely rained down on the colony and got them sopping wet. And although most of the bees made it through, it was obviously not a good thing.
Yeah.
So this should alleviate that problem. This is only R5, and that Prodex is just an R, not much. But I think the whole thing adds up to be a good enough R value to work in our location in the southern Appalachian Mountains. Again, if I was in Manitoba or Minnesota, I'd probably have a lot more insulation on top, and
Yeah.
I'd probably insulate the sides too, just not as heavily as the top, because you want the top to be
Right.
warmer than the sides.
Yeah.
So you guys put a bunch of these on not long ago, and now we're making them to put them in our store.
Yep.
So we'll put them on our website. And you know, we could take the camera out and just show one sitting on a colony.
Yeah. No, we got some right
Yeah.
now there.
All right. Anything you want to add? Any ideas?
I think you covered it.
Right.
I covered it good
Yeah.
enough? Okay. All right. So I'll see you down in wood shop. We'll take some more video.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, a little video of Tano putting these things together. We're using 1-inch XPS insulation board. I think the R value of that's around 5. And we're just making it a real tight fit. We're not trying to glue it or staple it or anything. That way if somebody needs to replace it in the future, if it gets smashed or fatigued, they can. And then on the other side, which would be the inside of the beehive, in other words, the underside of this insulation cover, we're using something called Prodex. It looks just like Reflectix, but it's not. It's thicker than Reflectix. So it has just a little bit more R value than Reflectix does. It's kind of an expanded polypropylene or polyethylene type of foam. Not sure. And we're just holding it in with these strips. I didn't want to put a staple in this stuff. We could just staple it with some T50 staples, but I thought it might rip the aluminum a little bit and not be good in the end. This is a substantial application of this stuff. It's not going anywhere. And that's just strips of Luan holding it in there. 1/4-inch crown staples. And that is it. Now the ones we use, we actually painted the end grain on the wood. We're not doing that to sell these things in the store. I would recommend doing it. We're just trying to keep the cost down, so we're not painting them. The customer can choose to paint or put linseed oil, anything on there just to seal the end grain so water doesn't get absorbed by this HDO plywood. And we are making the outer rim out of HDO, so it really is substantial, good stuff. This is a good, I feel like it's a really good insulation cover. Now, if I was in Minnesota or something like that, I'd probably make this part much thicker. I might even go up as high as 2 inches of this stuff to give me more R value. Up there, I think they need to get a total R of 20 or 30 R value. And here in northeast Georgia and western North Carolina, I think what we're doing here is plenty good enough. We're talking about a condensing hive concept. There's been lots of articles about it lately, and Greg Rogers has been doing it for several years. And I listened to a lady speak up at the Wisconsin honey producers meeting this last November. And although I've been on the fence about this for several years, I'm now biting the bullet, and we're doing it. John and Selena went around and put all these type of things on all of our smaller colonies earlier this season, especially our nukes that are overwintering over a double screen board. And next year we might make some more and put them on every colony. I don't see why not. Yeah, can't hurt, that's for sure. And I've already been looking at these. There's a lot less, well, there's no condensation with these things that I can see. Whereas without them, we saw lots of water on the underside of the cover. John and I were looking at that last week. And the covers like this had no condensation, and the ones that did not have these had lots of condensation. It's just that simple. Of course, the concept is that the warm, moist air is hitting the underside of your lid, and if it's cold, it condenses right there, and it puddles up and drips down on the bees. And the debate is, what's worse, cold bees or wet bees? And I think wet bees is probably worse. I think the idea of upper ventilation is kind of going away. The idea being that when you have upper ventilation, it's like having an upper door open or something. The draft going through the colony creates a lot of cold that does not have to be there. So you're closing in all the warmth with these things, but you're helping the condensation to collect on the wall of the colony rather than the roof of the colony. But I bought into this concept. Again, we've already put them on our smaller colonies earlier this season, and now we're just making some to put them up for sale in the store. So I'd like to see you guys putting these things together over there. And Tano, maybe you can show how we're cutting this stuff on the saw. We can show that too, if you don't mind. And then Jason, I'd like to see our new paper cutter working too. Let's go over that paper cutter first.
Do I need glasses? I don't need glasses.
Can you trim your fingernails with this thing? One finger at a time.
In case we have to take another shot.
Okay.
He got more fingers.
All right.
So we were doing this with a razor blade, but this is so much more accurate. Keeps everything really square. A very clean cut. And again, this is the Prodex, not Reflectex. So he's just showing us how this works. Generally, we're just peeling it off of a big roll. And we had some pieces that were accidentally oversized. That's what he's trimming down right now. See if I can get a close-up of this stuff from the edge.
From the edge?
From the edge, yeah. So see, it's not like Reflectex. It's actually got this inner core of expanded plastic. Adds a little more R value. They claim R15. I think that's BS, honestly. I think what they're doing when they claim that is they're talking about how it reflects the heat and the cold. This does a really good job of reflecting temperatures that are warmer than colder rather than insulating. That's my take on it. And I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm just kind of going with what I've been told by others that seem to know what they're talking about. One more time. Let's see this thing work. Yeah, that's the way to do it. No. All right, thank you, sir. So we're actually cutting this with the saws rather than trying to use a razor blade. It keeps them really clean, very square, really correct dimension. So he's There might what?
Shoot yourself in the. There might be a little fumbling with.
Little fumbling.
With putting it together. You know.
Some of these are
I'm just saying.
tiny bit bone.
Right. There might be a little.
Tiny bit.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you would be fumbling.
No. Just trying to get it together. No.
It's going to be fine.
Oh, okay. All right. Show us how you're doing this.
Okay.
Fancy little jig you got there. We like working with the HDO plywood because it's just flat, it's easy to cut. It's good stuff. So we're using 1/2 inch CDX, nothing fancy. Yeah. Guess y'all are glad to be in here today. It's starting to rain pretty good out there.
Yeah, I'm happy to have the wood shop.
Yeah, wood shop days are good sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. So, dimension is the same on both sides, the top and the bottom. Gives us an airspace under here to feed pollen patties, fondant patties. I think I'm liking them.
No, I think they're gonna be good.
Yeah. I don't know how this is going to turn out. It's really windy. Hope it doesn't mess up the microphone. The flag in our parking lot up there is showing that the wind is coming from the north, and it's a cold wind. That's typical when the wind comes from the north. Jesse and I are here to look under some covers and see if we can spot some condensation. The colonies without a double screen board on them are smaller, but they probably still should have some condensation under the cover.
Greg?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, it's absolutely sopping wet. Okay. Yeah, so that's typical. It was raining yesterday, it's cold, so yeah, that looks about right. Let's pop a couple of these, see what's under these insulation boards. Of course, those will be small colonies, but they're big colonies underneath, so there'll be lots of warm, moist air coming up through there. Oh, that's warm. You can feel it. I can feel that surface is warm.
Yeah, you can see the bees are,
Yeah.
they're not clustered up very tight either.
No, that's true. Of course, this fondant patty would absorb a little bit of moisture. Yeah, but you're right, that the bees are loosely clustered, so that's definitely a sign. Let's look under this one here, Jesse. Now this morning, this lid was cracked a little, remember? The wind caught it or something, so
Yeah.
it would have been ventilating. And there's no moisture on the cover.
Yeah, a little bit right there.
A little
on the
bit
lid.
right there, yeah. So that's dry because it was basically a ventilated situation with that
And you
thing.
can see the cluster's a little tighter.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pop another one of these. And one more. It's cold out here, Jesse.
Yeah, a little bit. That wind's a little bitey.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a little bit of
Little bit of-
condensation right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It is. You can feel it. It's warm. That's interesting.
Yeah,
And dry as a bone.
and they are.
Loosely clustered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I would have expected to see. Jesse, I think we need to go back in.
Yeah.
That wind